Hello, my name is Mary is Bleeding, so you bet I'll be making a review about a movie with the most amount of blood in it. I want to talk about just the whole experience of getting to see Iron Lung in Finland, but also do like a spoiler-free review of it, and also then at the end do a review of the lore or like the story, in my opinion. So there will be spoilers at the end, but I will warn you, and there are chapters in the video, so don't worry about that. And if you want to watch the movie, don't look at the spoilers, because that will spoil it to you, and you don't want that. What a wonderful experience it was. Since I live in Finland, I had spent an entire month in anticipation and hope that I would get to see Iron Lung with my own two peepers. And then in some video, I think Markiplier mentioned that Iron Lung got to Estonia, and Estonia is close to Finland, and I go to Estonia frequently anyway. So I was just like, okay, this is my one and only chance. I was ready to pack my things and go to Estonia, and I was like looking at Airbnbs, and because I would have to stay overnight because the movie is late and ferries don't go that late there. So I was like, okay, this is it. I have to do this. But then in a moment of clarity, this was like at night, I was like, in a moment of clarity, I was like, wait, calm down, okay? So I went to Finkino's website, and like within the website I looked up Iron Lung because Google didn't give me anything, but within the website it actually gave me a result, and I was like, oh my god. There were like 2 screenings. I wasn't the only one who found it already, because when I looked at it, all the middle seats were already booked, and I was like, oh damn, okay, booking right now. And so I booked tickets for myself and my girlfriend. And no, she didn't get a choice. I dragged her to the first of the only 2 screenings at the time, whether she liked it or not. I'm kidding, she was very excited to be a part of it, even though she didn't know anything about the game or Markiplier. And I'm very thankful that she came with me, because it was very fun. The day before the movie, I had checked Finkino's website just out of curiosity, and it was sold out. And that's like the biggest auditorium seat-wise, I think. I think there's like 635 seats in there, and the guy, there, like, before the movie started, there was a guy, and he was like a worker there, and he was like, last time he saw this auditorium sell out was for Star Wars 3. When was that? So yeah. Congratulations to Mr. Plier for setting records all the way in Finland. Now, I'm not the kind of person to put a lot of effort into my outfits for movies, but I did do my nails. Very proud of them. And me and my girlfriend wore matching outfits. I actually wore this shirt. It's red. I don't know if you can see it on camera. It was very cute, and I'm happy she was in on it. I saw people in Unus Annus merch. I saw someone dressed as Warstash, which is based beyond belief, but also slightly terrifying, because when we came to the theater, I'm pretty sure they were like in line to get popcorn or something, and we walked past them to the long ass line to see the movie. More people had like come after us, and when we got to our seats, the Warstash person was already also sitting. And I'm just like confused how that happened, because did you teleport? But anyways, yeah, I think that was the real Warstash. I don't have any other explanation. But yeah, at the theater, everything went very smoothly. We didn't have any audio issues that some other people have been reporting, and the most important thing for me was that everyone knew how to behave. I was very happy about that. Nobody interrupted or made jokes or anything like that. Right before the movie started, this guy came to say some basic stuff about the movie. And when Markiplier was mentioned, because it's his movie, everyone cheered, the guy included. He said he was jealous that he's not seeing the movie because he's working. When the movie ended, everyone applauded, which is not common here. And actually we applauded twice. First time when the movie just ended, and then the second time after the credits were like the pictures of Mark, Amy, and Chica and Henry were on the screen. And honestly, the whole experience was just wonderful. Returning home and still seeing people in merch or like with pink mustache. It's such a uniting experience for like several reasons. First of all, like in general, because a lot of like-minded people in the same space. Even though you like don't directly interact with any of them, like you're still in the same space. But also because like everything that happens always happens in the US or the UK at most, but to have it here for once and to like actually experience something with your own two eyes, it was like it was wonderful. It was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. But I think I've yapped enough about my experience and you actually want to learn more about the movie. So here's the spoiler-free review. For starters, I loved the movie. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I loved it. Not that I expected less of Mark. I knew it would be great when I was going into it, but I guess the initial concern for me was like, if the movie is anything like the game, it's just gonna be in a single location for 2 hours. And like, as someone who dabbles into filmmaking every so often, I of course was worried about like all the challenges that might ensue in making something like that. But let me tell you, Mark and his team, they made a wonderful job. Like, it worked perfectly. I've seen a lot of people say that the first half of the movie felt too slow, but I strongly disagree with that. I didn't feel like it was dragging at all at any point, but then again, my favorite movie is Men, which nothing happens in the first half of that movie, so maybe I am the target audience for that. But yeah, I didn't think it was slow or like poorly paced, and neither did my girlfriend, and she said that if anything, it's only a good thing, because if you have zero context about what's going on, then you get some time to process what's happening. And I mean, we both do appreciate slower movies, so I guess we're both the target audience, but honestly, I did not feel like it was dragging at all. The first thing that caught my eye that I absolutely loved about the movie was just the visual look of it, the color grading, the lighting. The whole movie was very pleasant to look at. It, like, a lot of it is in the darkness, but it was never flat, like tends to happen with some movies. I mean, like, a human eye can see color in the darkness, that's just like how science works. But I don't think it has to be that way in cinema, and they use different colored light sources, like buttons and screens, and color grading in the best way possible, and I really loved Iron Lung visually. Another thing that I think was executed phenomenally well is all the ways that they managed to film in such a small location. I imagine it takes a lot of creativity. All those close-ups and interesting angles and transitions, like, really the cinematography is really good in this movie. I've seen a lot of people say that the lore of the movie was hard to understand if you haven't played the games, and I kind of have to agree with that. It's something I talked to my girlfriend about, and she has like zero knowledge about the lore in the game. And I remember some basic things. I didn't remember all of it because I wanted to go into the movie with like a potential experience of someone who knows nothing about the game. And while watching, neither of us really caught up on what the backstory of the characters is or like the world, but we understood enough to enjoy the movie. Like, it's not like it was completely incomprehensible, not at all, but there would be a lot of lore from the game sprinkled into dialogue especially, and my first critique actually was that something was off with the dialogue, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. But after like talking about the story aspect with my girlfriend, I think I understand what the issue with the dialogue was for me. I think it's the fact that I put so much detail in the dialogue. I think the idea is that through dialogue you would learn about the lore because there's no other way to learn, because you never see the world outside of Iron Lung. I guess maybe there was too much of the lore, or it wasn't presented in the best way, so like neither of us really got enough to understand the backstory. I do definitely think that watching this movie a second time would give a clear picture of the backstory and the whole lore. Is just like on the first watch they will throw a bunch of names of different like space stations and like reference events, and because you're already watching another story happen, it's kind of hard to keep track of all the different names that they're saying. And if you don't know what these space stations are or like what their relationships between one another is, you will miss out on a big portion of the backstory. But I also think that backstory is not necessary to understand what's happening in the movie. Because, like I said, it is very much enjoyable without the full context. Because the concept really is pretty simple. So I think, yeah, that dialogue could have been written a bit differently. Maybe less of lore dumps all in once, and then maybe like even it out a bit more. But also I understand that it's hard to write dialogue that sounds natural but also like gives the lore. So I don't know how they could have done it differently. Maybe they don't have to do it differently, but it is like, I definitely think that if you don't have the context of the game, you will not understand the backstory or the lore of the movie on your first watch. I think Mark's acting was really good, and I worried at first that I wouldn't be able to separate Mark, the YouTuber, from Mark, the actor, or like rather the character that he's playing, but I actually didn't have any trouble with that at all. Despite most of his previous roles being somewhat comedic, I think he succeeded very well with this more serious and like dramatic role. The other actors were good too, though you only hear a few more people besides the main character. It's mostly Markiplier, but I think I didn't really see any issue with anyone's acting or voice acting. As I've mentioned, I've done some filmmaking. I am not a professional by any means, yet. But I like watching movies through the lens of what the pre-production could have looked like, or how did they film that, and I'm sure a lot of people do that. You don't have to be like a filmmaking person to watch movies like that. But one of my favorite things is storyboarding, and I feel like this is such a fun project to storyboard because there are such strong limitations, but I feel like limitations inspire creativity, and to try to make this submarine, the small submarine, look interesting with different angles and different shots, I think it would be a very fun project to do. And I think Ironlung is a perfect example of how limitations inspire creativity and the best possible outcome in a world where everything is possible with CGI. And I think Mark said on Chuckle Sandwich podcast that that's actually the exact reason he chose Ironlung, because it's a single location, even though it limits, but it also makes the project much more manageable. In some alternative universe, Netflix is making the Ironlung movie adaptation, and they use tens of millions of dollars and a crazy big ass cast, and they focus on the world outside of the submarine, even though it's really not necessary, because the experience is subjective. You're experiencing the movie through the main character who doesn't see the rest of the world. So I'm glad that I live in the universe where Mark is the one who's doing the movie and he stayed true to the game. It's so impressive and so inspiring because a lot of us like newbies think, oh, but I can't make movies if I don't have the Hollywood connections or Hollywood budget. And I mean, Ironlung's budget wasn't that small, if you think about it. Like, it still was, like, over $1 million, for sure. But if you compare it to the biggest movies out there, it's, like, nothing. It's great to be reminded that you can make things. You can make very good and creative things, despite limitations that you might have. Maybe you don't have any budget, maybe you only have your phone's camera, but you can make things, and you don't need a Hollywood budget. They were filming some big ass movie on an iPhone, so you don't need the big budget. You don't need a studio behind you. This is a very important movie, and I hope that everyone who wanted to see it got to see it. If you didn't know you wanted to see it and now you do, you better go and watch it. I don't know how long it will take me to finish this video. It might be possible that it's not in theaters anymore, but if it is, you should definitely watch it. I might watch it a second time because I think they added more screenings in Finland, so yeah. But yes, if you don't want any spoilers, then this is where we have to say goodbye, I think. I might say something else at the end of the video that doesn't give spoilers, but I don't know if that will be the case. There will be a timestamp if it is the case. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and for those who are staying to talk about the story, let's get right into it. Spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. I like how the movie starts immediately. Simon, the main character, played by Markiplier, is being lowered into the blood ocean, and we get a voiceover explaining that the life suddenly disappeared, and that includes planets, stars, beings, everything gone. They call it the quiet rapture, and the leftover people are looking for resources to survive. They have found these moons that are covered in blood that nobody had noticed before. Maybe they weren't there before, maybe they appeared after the quiet rapture, or as it happened, or they were there all the time and we just didn't see them. And the space station, COI, or community of people, I don't know which one is the best way to describe it, is exploring the moons. And it's Simon's duty to go down there and explore, take photos of the points of interest that he was provided with. At the start of the movie, we are under the impression that this is the first time anyone has ever been down there. Simon asks if they have tested the submarine, and the lady on the intercom radio, whatever is the correct thing to say, I think she's a captain. Maybe? She says that this is the test. Very reassuring. The potential captain lady and every other character in COI refer to Simon only as a convict, and that is because he is a convict. And he is doing this mission in exchange for freedom. I think that piece of lore wasn't in the game until 2.0, where you could have figured out that you were a convict in the terminal. But I don't think it was ever directly said that. You had to, figure it out on your own. I really like that setup for a movie. It's very solid. It's very simple. Simon is a convict. He's doing this ridiculously dangerous thing in exchange for freedom. And what he wants and needs is freedom. And he needs to do these things to achieve that. Very simple and very good. As far as I understand, Simon didn't get any kind of briefing before being sent down there. He didn't even know how to use the submarine properly. But yeah, he begins his task. The submarine doesn't have a lot of controls. You can move it. You can take photos. You get to see your coordinates and your oxygen level. And there is a motion sensor. He takes some pictures of the points of interest, and pretty early on, he discovers something. He discovers a skeleton of some sort of massive fish, perhaps. But not only that, he feels like the submarine is being shaken, and he is pretty certain that something is not only a skeleton, but something alive is also in there. The space station receives the pictures, and they immediately pull Simon back up, and he's like, oh, okay, my mission is done. But not so. As he's pulled up, that's the only time we get to see other people, but we don't get to see from the outside of submarine. We get to see it only from the little window that is open when he's outside of the ocean. Simon, however, does not get to leave the submarine because he's literally sealed in this iron lung submarine to prevent it from imploding in any way possible. They attach this, claw to the submarine, and they want him to go back down and take a piece of the skeleton to use it as a sample to study it or to find maybe some resources from it. And Simon is like, hell nah, because he's certain that something alive is down there, and he does not want to encounter it at all. But nobody is listening to him. Nobody even pays attention to the fact that there might be something alive there. They are only interested in the skeleton. So in, frustration and as an attempt to get attention, Simon, takes a picture. What he gets back, so the way camera works is that you press a button, and then there's, a big monitor, and the picture will appear there. And so the picture he gets is, it doesn't look like a picture, it looks like an X-ray. That's because it is an X-ray, and a very powerful one at that. And he just blasted 3 or 4 people with it, and it's so powerful that those people were immediately rushed to the hospital. Well, that didn't stop people from sending Simon back down. They only asked him if he has enough oxygen level, to which he says he has 3 out of 4 levels left. It's enough to continue the mission, I guess. So people are furious with Simon because I guess it should have been obvious that you can't take normal pictures with a camera in thick blood ocean. But I guess X-ray isn't the first thing you think of if you're a normal citizen and not a scientist. So I'm not blaming Simon. And this situation was brought up multiple times, and I was fully expecting it to be like, at some point they will realize that maybe the skeleton was not a skeleton. Maybe it was a living fish that he took a picture of. However, it was never brought up by anyone. But I like fully expected it to be like a plot twist at some point. They will be like, wait a minute, it was a living fish. And especially because when he goes back to the spot where the skeleton was, it's not there anymore. But then the person over the intercom informs Simon that this ocean doesn't actually have a floor. Instead, it's just like more blood, but it just gets like progressively thicker until it becomes almost solid. And sometimes it like moves with the waves. And he was told to continue looking for the skeleton. He does eventually find it, so you're still left wondering if it was a skeleton or if it was a fish. I think it's an interesting decision to leave it ambiguous whether it's a skeleton or a fish down there. I have yet to figure out if I like it. I feel like I would enjoy it more if it was more subtle in a way, because they really do mention the X-ray thing several times. I feel like because of that it's stuck in this like limbo between being a creative mislead and poorly written foreshadowing, you know? But yeah, anyway, I don't remember the exact order of things that happen in the movie because after the movie I watched the video I say about the game and now the plots are a bit mixed up in my head. My bad. But the important things are that Simon notices that there is actually another feature in the submarine that I didn't mention before, and it's this computer/terminal. As Simon checks if it works or not, he opens it up and inside the case there's a note and there's a little amulet thing. The amulet is like a little tree branch maybe, or some kind of sapling or something, inside of like glass. It's just like flat glass, round leaf inside. And Simon recognizes it as belonging to someone that he refers to as brother. The note says to cross the wires, and doing that will turn on the terminal. As soon as terminal is on, it begins playing a voice note of the previous convict who was in the submarine. And he basically reveals that it's a suicide mission, and that I think he was sent there and he refused to participate. Like, he decided he will not help COI and he will just die there in peace, I guess. So now Simon knows for sure that he is not the first one down there, but he decides that he will not follow in the footsteps of the previous convict and he will help COI because he does want to live. And that's actually a big thing about Simon. I mean, about most people. You assume that we have some kind of survival instinct, but the rest of the people, they are doing everything to secure a future for other people, not themselves. And Simon wants to live himself. And he says at some point, like, I think something along the lines of, why doesn't anyone want to live? You could see him as selfish, but you can also like sympathize because obviously everyone wants to live. You don't deserve to be sent to a mission where you will die for certain. So he's just like trying his best to survive. And I don't think it's selfish in that context, but it's up to everyone's own interpretation, I guess. So having found the skeleton again, he rams into it so that the newly installed claw can like grab a piece of bone. And he informs the space station that he has collected a sample and they are pulling the submarine back up, but something goes wrong. It seems that Iron Lung got attacked and it loses control and connection. It's shaken pretty badly and Simon is like tossed around the whole submarine and he hits his head and he's knocked unconscious. When he wakes up, the submarine is dark, the engine is down, the only thing that seems to be working still is the X-ray. And he uses it as a light source because when you press the thing and the picture shows up on the monitor, it's very bright. But it doesn't stay there forever. So you take a picture, it appears, it stays there for a bit, and then it fades away. Simon has to restart the engine, which is located like under the floor. There's like a little crawl space, and it's like down there. He looks around for some tools, and he finds a life vest, water, and a first aid kit. He drinks the rubbing alcohol in the first aid kit, and he drinks the water. Then he tapes the X-ray button with bandages or something to keep it constantly on, to keep like taking pictures so the light source would keep coming back. I think the tension in this scene was so good. Again, it's never acknowledged by Simon, but every time it takes a picture, there's like movement on the monitor. You can't really like clearly see what it is moving, but you can see that the picture changes every time, and the submarine is down, so it can be moving. So something else is moving around the submarine. And then when he's like crawling down there in this tight space, you can hear in the distance the X-ray machine going off. It's like very loud. It takes a picture like an old school camera, like whoosh, and it just like keeps happening again and again and again. And you're like, the tension is so good. You almost expect like some kind of jump scare to happen, but it doesn't. And then at some point you hear like in the distance the bandages like peeling off, and it doesn't go off again. It's like, oh, so good. But at that point Simon has already found the engine and he restarts it successfully, and it's all good. So Simon returns back into the main part of the submarine, and he tries to get in contact with the space station, but nobody answers him. So he's basically stuck down there all alone, and I don't remember the exact order of things, but basically a few important things happen around that time. A fire starts. Great. That's exactly what you want when you're in the blood ocean at the very bottom, a fire. But he extinguishes it pretty quickly. Then some alarm goes off, and it just keeps going and going and going and doesn't stop. I don't remember what it was alarming anymore, but it pisses off Simon, so he punches the speaker and it shuts up. Simon decides that since he has nothing else to do down there, he might as well just continue the mission and go to the rest of the points of interest that he has on his map. Now, I think that's about the midpoint of the movie, and I like to talk about the first half of the film now, because there are some things I didn't mention that happen that are pretty important to mention now, because some of them tie into my theory about the ending. And I also just mostly focused on action right now, but there was also a lot of lore in the dialogue, like I mentioned before. And again, like I said, I think the lore could have been a bit clearer, but after watching video essays about the game, I think I have a good understanding of what happened in the movie as well. So in the movie you will hear three names tossed around. First one is Eden, then you will hear Filament Station, and then you will hear COI. COI you are already familiar with, because that's the first people we meet. But if you don't have the context of the game, it's still unclear like what these names are. Are they like, what are they? Are they places? Are they communities? Are they school? That's what I thought, because of like some flashbacks that we get to see. I thought that Eden was a school, even though like I know lore, but I forgot it. So that was like, I was like, huh, what is Eden? But yeah, in the game, after they added the terminal, you could look up these things, and from the terminal you would learn that there's two groups of people, COI and Eden, and they're like moral enemies. Not really, but like they are in opposition. In the movie, Filament Station is mentioned a lot, and it's fully destroyed, and that is also the case in the game. Simon is being... My camera died, and I don't know at what point, so that's lovely. But yeah, they seem to be blaming Simon specifically for what happened on the Filament Station. And I think that's a very interesting aspect, because you don't get that in the game. And Simon keeps saying like, oh, it wasn't me, you're blaming the wrong person. Or like, at some point he says like, it wasn't supposed to happen. So I guess he was involved in some way, but maybe against his will, or maybe actually something did go wrong that wasn't supposed to happen. In the game, it's stated that Eden attacked COI and destroyed their station, the Filament Station. Another thing that is stated in the game is that Eden possesses trees, and with Simon finding that amulet thing with a little leaf, I think it's pretty clear that he is from Eden, and he somehow got caught up in the whole thing. And then he got captured by COI, and then he became a convict. We see a few flashback scenes of what presumably happened at the Filament Station, and in those scenes Simon is still a child. you don't really get to see a lot in those flashback scenes. You get to see that there's other children and that there's like explosions and then there's like a big tree. So I feel like that kind of contradicts with like the game, as in like it says that Eden has trees, but did Filament Station also have trees? Or are the flashbacks from Eden? And if it was from Eden, then how did they even connect Simon to the Filament Station thing if he's a child that is on Eden? But I think, I think the flashback scenes weren't even that necessary. I think they could be removed entirely, or they could have been made a bit more clear, maybe. But yeah, in theory, you would be able to understand what happened and what Simon's backstory is through dialogue alone. And that is not something that my girlfriend and myself were able to decipher. But then again, like, I do think that not everything has to be spelled out for you. You have to use your brain. It's good to use your brain. But then again, I also think that the background of a character should be clear. Like, some things can be left up to interpretation, but I think some more, like, abstract symbolism, eldritch horror that we will talk about later, I think those things, like ending, can be left, like, up to interpretation. But things like facts, they are facts, technically. They could be, like, based on Simon's opinion or based on the captain's opinion, but they are, like, it's the history. And I think it should be possible to decipher it. But again, like I said before, I think it's something that you could understand by watching a second time, or if you have the context of the game. And like I said as well, it's not necessary to understand what's happening in the movie, but I think it's a good bonus to understand. But maybe it is supposed to be just a bonus for those who are in on the game. I don't know. I wish I did understand better. But it did not take away from the experience. What the hell? There are a few more things that I want to mention as well about the movie. Pretty early on, if not right at the start, we will see that the submarine is leaking some blood. But not like crazy amount, like maybe a drop or two throughout the first half of the movie. I think it is important to mention because it directly correlates with my interpretation of the ending, or like the second half of the movie. Another thing to mention is that Simon gets like these brief hallucinations, and at first I didn't really know who it was that he was seeing in the submarine with him, but then I saw some people online say that it's himself from the future, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and I really like that theory because it supports my theory about the ending. And I've seen some discourse whether he is seeing hallucinations because he hit his head when the submarine was shaking, or because he drank the rubbing alcohol, or is the oxygen running low? By the way, it is not. He is still like halfway through the oxygen, which is crazy when you find out how long he's been out of it. Or like, is he simply going insane? But I don't think it's either of those options. I think it's actually something entirely different. And especially if it is true that he's seeing like his future self, it just like makes a lot more sense to be another thing that I will talk about later. Simon continues his expedition and he has to navigate this very narrow cave thing. And keep in mind that there is in fact no windows, and even if there were, you couldn't see because the blood is so dark and thick. So he has to rely on just the coordinates that you get to see at the control panel and the map that he was given. And he's also like, as he's going, he's making his own map as well. He also, of course, can navigate using the X-ray, and that's what he does a lot. And as he enters the cave and he takes pictures with the X-ray, you get to see that there's like something in this cave. I think in game it looks more like some sort of vegetation, but I think in the movie it looks more like tentacles. But then again, I think it's something slightly different than tentacles. He navigates like through the cave and eventually he finds another submarine that was like torn apart. And when he gets close enough to it, the terminal attempts to download the information from the torn apart submarine's black box. However, it is unable to do so because you need an admin password for that. I think it's when he is inside the cave, he just straight up captures a fish on the X-ray machine, which well, first of all, it was played off like a funny gag. He was like just so fed up. He was just like, "Oh yeah, don't mind me," which was funny, and people chuckled. But also, I think the fact that we could see fish that way on an X-ray kind of implies that the skeleton he found was a skeleton and not a fish, because you don't see the skeleton inside that fish that he captured in the cave. But that's just a theory. A game theory. So it is very much clear that there is something alive down there, and there is also a submarine that was torn apart in the cave. And I wonder what did it. I'm not entirely sure what exactly happened after that. He was like going around the cave, and then it seems like he comes to an end and it like circles back on itself, and he's like he seems like confused or frustrated by it, and then he's like, only one way to go, or something along the lines. And then it seems like he's going upwards maybe, but I don't think that's the case, because if it was possible, why not just go all the way to the surface? So I don't know, I guess he finds another way to go. And as he moves in some direction, someone starts speaking to him on the intercom. It's unclear who is speaking. It is implied that is the people from the torn apart submarine, but there couldn't be any people because they would be dead. But it's implied that it's like researchers from that submarine. And like Simon fully believes that, yeah, I'm talking to real people right now. Those people sound a bit insane, like they've been stuck there for a long, long time. And they tell Simon that they know what caused the quiet rapture. And Simon is like, yeah, sure. Eventually he does agree to like see what it is, and they give Simon the coordinates, and they are like, we will see it together. To me it's like, no you fucking won't. The submarine that they are, supposedly from, it will not move. It's like imploded or like torn apart, and there is no other submarine to my knowledge. So I don't know why he goes along with it, but I guess he is just like so hopeless that he's like, yeah, sure, I will go to these coordinates and I will see what caused the rapture. I will see it with you, actually. We'll see it together. When he reaches the place, it's like he takes a picture with X-ray, and it's like this star-looking thing. And I'm pretty sure that this is where he gets like, I'm pretty sure that's where it happens. He gets like either inside his mind, or he gets like teleported physically to another place. It's like an endless shallow pool of blood, and there's this like massive fish type shift thing, and it's like whispering to him and talking about like, there's like many voices. It's like talking about greatness and talking about how the other people are like bad or something like that. And it feels like it's a very surreal scene, and I really do like it. I think it's very interesting how it was executed, this like surreal experience. Well, Simon, after being confused and staring at the fish for a while in this pool of blood, returns to the submarine, and he like pukes blood. He then, after like, I think the whispering continues maybe, or maybe not, but he then realizes that the speaker, or like the intercom, was not even plugged in, or like the wire was broken when he punched it in a fist of rage. So he's like, he understands that it was some sort of hallucination again. Well, he has a few more spots to photograph, and the oxygen falls down to its last level. I might be missing some things or saying them in the wrong order because I don't remember the things anymore. But eventually someone starts talking to him again on the intercom, and he recognizes the voice, and it's the lady captain from the beginning. And he got contact with them again, but like, it seems impossible. The lady says that he's been gone for several days. They thought he was dead. And he also thinks like, hey, but I thought this thing wasn't even wired anymore. You're probably another hallucination. But then he checks again, and it is wired this time. So the previous thing was like fully a hallucination. Also, I have questions about the oxygen level. If he was down there for so many days, several days, why did the oxygen levels not go down there at all? But anyways, he's talking to this lady, and he obviously wants to go back, but it seems that the situation on the space station has changed a lot, and they're not like allowed to retrieve him back, even if they wanted to, but it's deemed not worth the cause. And Simon is rightfully upset, and he yells at them. He's like talking about how unfair it is, and like, you, how dare you, I know other people have been here and you lied to me, and I found the submarine that was also down here. And that information really piques the captain lady's interest, and she's like, wait, what, you found a submarine? And he's like, yeah, I did, and it also, like, my submarine tried to download its information, but it couldn't without a password. And the lady is like, you're bluffing, that couldn't be true, the terminal isn't even on. And he's like, well, I crossed the virus and it works now. It seems like such an important thing, such an important and good opportunity to find out what's, like, because on the other submarine there were like actual researchers, not just like a convict that they just sent down there. It was just like actual researchers, and they've probably found something, and it's a good opportunity to get that information. Even though it's forbidden to bring Simon back, the lady makes a deal with him that if he can go back to the cave, she would give him a password and he would download the information, and if he makes it back in 30 minutes, then she will retrieve him personally if she has to. She will do it. Something that everyone but Simon keeps repeating is like, this is bigger than you, this is bigger than me, this is bigger than us, or something like that. And they are like very desperate to survive as humans. And she doesn't really even care that she has tumors from the x-ray. She has probably multiple tumors at that point. She just cares about like continuing the human race, I guess. Also, a side note, she says the password to him, and I don't know if I'm tweaking, but I think she said it wrong the first time. Like, the subtitles kept like saying 7 as the first symbol, but I think the first time she said the password, she said Z first, and then the second time she said 7. But I don't know, maybe I'm tweaking. Anyways, that was not relevant to anything. I'm just like, what was that? I think I saw something there. But yeah, I might be tweaking. Simon returns to cave, and again, it's one of those moments when I'm like not entirely sure about the order of things that happened, or things that happen in general, but I'm trying to like recall to my best ability. And so Simon goes to the submarine and he is downloading the files, and he sees some of the files that have been downloaded. And I was like screaming eternally, like, oh my god, you don't have enough time to be looking at these files. What are you doing? What are you doing? At that point, you can see that the submarine is really leaking some blood. And it's not just like leaking from like through a pipe or something. It's like seeping through the walls. Everything is like slowly covered in walls. It looks like rust in a way. He's like returning to the location that they agreed to meet in, and the lady on the intercom again says like, this is bigger than us. She's like very panicked or something, and she asks Simon for a favor to preserve the black box so that they could get the information. And then at that point the whispers return as well, and the submarine is really bloody now. Like, the crawl space with the engine is like, it's filled with blood at this point. And the whispers return, and they're telling Simon, like, don't listen to her. She's willing to leave you down here. Why would you help her? Like, it's not necessary. Just, like, join us. Become one of us. Well, I don't remember if they actually say that, but that's, like, in my head, that's what they were saying. And it's like, just, like, surrender. Don't help them. It's not worth it. But at that point, Simon, like, has his character growth, and he's like, you know what? Maybe it is bigger than me. And he goes down there where the engine is, because that's where the black box also is. The whole space is filled with blood. And he gets the black box. He's like trying to shove it into the life vest. But there's like blood. It becomes sentient in a way. And it's trying to stop him from putting the black box in the life vest. It's like trying to take it away from him. These like tentacle things that I'm pretty sure are the same things that we saw in the cave appear, and they're like grabbing Simon and grabbing the black box away from him. And an interesting thing is that it's like, as it grabs you, it's like melts into you, and you like melt into it. And not only that, but you like it grabs Simon and it pulls him to like the submarine, and the submarine also melts like together. It like becomes one nasty concoction. And but then it's not soft, it hardens, and then it becomes part of you. And so, but Simon is like very dedicated, like, yeah, this is my redemption arc. I will help the humanity. I will be the one to help them. He like pulls so hard that he rips his arm from here. I think it was his left arm actually. And the voices like continue talking to him, like they like taunting him the whole time, calling him Simon the Butcher, which was also mentioned by someone else before and not really acknowledged, like what does it mean? And Simon is like, okay, fine. You want to see Simon the Butcher? You'll get Simon the Butcher. I don't know, that sounded so Markiplier. Not in the movie, like the way I said it. It was acted very good. Don't worry about that. So he shoves the black box into the life vest, and then I don't remember what with, but he was like ready to attack with something. And the teeth of the giant fish like puncture the submarine, and he like starts attacking the teeth. I think he actually manages to break one of them or something, but that doesn't help. The fish got him. The submarine like exploded and it's torn apart, and I'm pretty sure Simon is gone. Yeah. Pretty much where it ends. We get to see like that the life vest made it to the surface, and it's implied that COI will hopefully find the life vest and the black box inside of it, but we don't know that. What a great experience. I love movies where the finale is just like whatever. So much happens and it's just like so abstract. Ugh, my favorite thing. Even though I might be in the minority of people who like the first half of the movie, I do like really love the second half as well. I like how at first it might seem confusing what exactly is happening. Like, I knew what happened, but I couldn't put it into words. Like, my girlfriend asked me a question, and like I answered it, but I was like, this is the answer, but I don't know why. And like you have to ponder and like really digest what you just saw. I love that kind of movies. It's the best. I think the second half is open to interpretation. I've seen some people be like, oh, it was all in the head because of oxygen or the alcohol or whatever, or it's just like simple insanity because he's been down there for so long. But I think it's not the in the head case this time. I think there were enough clues throughout the movie to imply some sort of like eldritch cosmic fish horror monster thing. And like, again, it took me like over a day to fully comprehend what happened, even though like on a surface level you like understand what happened, but then you're like trying to connect the pieces, and then because you only watch the movie once, you have to like try to remember what happened exactly. And like, I enjoy that. It's not a complaint that, oh, I don't remember what happened. But yeah, I think I came up with a theory. Maybe some people came up with it as well. I tried not to look into other people's theories. Like, whatever, like, the only context and feedbacks I've seen is, like, from, like, Reels comments and stuff like that. I didn't, like, watch any proper theory video or anything like that. So if someone else has a similar theory, that's great. That means I'm right. My theory is that the blood is sentient, but not just that. It's like an omnipotent being in a way that humans can't really comprehend. I love that kind of like godlyhood that it's like so powerful and you can't really comprehend how exactly it functions. I also think that the fish is simply one of the forms or like manifestations of this blood being. And the reason I think those things is like, remember how the floor of the ocean is just like more blood, but it's like hardened and more solid. And I think that's like the main body of the being. I don't know how to put it to words specifically, because again, I think it's like so much bigger than what human can comprehend. But I think like the floor is like the being itself, maybe. I think it can like grow tentacles and it can manifest itself as a fish. It also manifests itself like as these voices and stuff like that. But yeah. Oh, also, and it was like confirmed that the blood is human blood. It could be feeding on humans, but I don't think it's necessarily that. I think you join it. I don't think it consumes you. I think it's more like hive mind situation. You become part of it. That's why human blood is there, but the blood is also the being. And that's why you hear multiple different voices. And remember the quiet rapture and how Simon was like shown this different place when he got to the coordinates that the voices told him to go to. I believe that he interacted with the voices of the researchers who were down there, and that is because the being has consumed them, and it has like their voice, their memories and everything like that. It can like, it's like a hive mind in a way, but not really. Like you become this being. But also it seems like it couldn't like speak with the captain's, the captain lady's voice or anything like that, because I think it would have if it could have. And I think that confirms that like you become a part of it, and then it will use your likeness, use your voice, use your memories and stuff like that. There are a few more things I want to mention. When the submarine was getting filled with blood, there was a shot of like oxygen levels rising by 1 level. And also I want to mention like, you know how I said that there's been drops of blood from the start of the movie, and one of them landed on Simon, and he like wiped it off like on his pants or something, and the shot like it lingers there for a bit, and I think it's for a reason. I think that's when it makes contact with you, and I think at that point it already joined Simon, and that's why he was seeing hallucinations so early on, because it was already part of him, the being, and he was already part of the being, and that's why he was seeing his future self, because this being is like, it's so godly, like it will manifest it or something like that, or it's just like taunting you that this will happen to you, because I think the silhouette that he's seeing in his hallucinations is like himself without an arm, because that would make sense, because such a weird silhouette. And I also think that this being is what caused the quiet rapture in some way. I don't know why it's only on specific moons or moon or whatever. Don't ask me questions like that. I don't know. But I think Simon was shown this different place, and then the oxygen levels rising and everything like that. I think there's life inside of the being, or like maybe not inside, but it's a gateway to another dimension or another life where everyone else was taken. And when it's like consuming the submarine, consuming Simon, it like the oxygen levels rising, because it's like creating like kind of like a portal to another dimension or something like that, to another place at least. So yeah, I think my theory is that the blood is sentient and it consumes you and it can take you to a different place or something like that. But I could be tweaking, and maybe my theory is completely wrong, and there's like a confirmed theory already existing by MatPat or something. Let me know what you think about my theory, and if you have your own theory, I would love to, like, I was trying to distance myself as much as possible because I wanted to come up with something myself, but now I'm like, I really want to know what other people think and what other people have, like, how they have interpreted this ending. So feel free to write it in the comments or whatever. I will look at some video theories or something like that as well. If you write something in the comments, make sure to like warn people that there's spoilers or something, because again, the movie might still be in theaters and I don't want anyone to get spoiled on what happens in the movie, because I don't want to rob anyone of the experience. But yeah, I loved the movie. I think it's wonderful that it's setting records in the movie industry. I think if there's one movie that deserves it and one director that deserves it, then it's Markiplier and Iron Lung. I don't think that the movie is overhyped or anything like that. I also don't think that it's just like some passion project. I think it's much more than that. It's like made with passion, but it's also genuinely a good movie as like a standalone piece. Like, not just like a Markiplier piece made with passion, but like as a movie. It's great. And like everyone involved with it, Mark and David and Amy, the whole team, they deserve recognition, because genuinely I think it's a very good movie. I don't like giving numbers, but I think if I had to give a number, I would give it like 8.87.
I'm 87!
Because that feels like the right number for some reason. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I really recommend it, especially to people who like more like abstract movies, more like art housey in a way. If you're in Helsinki, I believe they added many more screenings in Finkino. So yeah, I might watch it again if I feel loca enough. Uh, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will also finish the Bridgerton video essay and the Substance video essay at some point. So stay tuned, I guess. Bye bye. Yeah, my hive mind theory it was not affected by the fact that I just watched Pluribus or anything like that. It's a coincidence.